Puszkiewicz. I knew we were going to end up doing that, Brandon, but yeah, pretty cool stuff, man. But appreciate you coming out from the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're going to work through all this tonight, man. This is pretty cool. So we got some new kind of camera angles, a little bit of a wide-angle camera. We got me close up, which nobody wants to see that. We got you. I'm kind of your power and producer. Rick?
What's up?
Are you turned on?
I don't know.
You better get that microphone. We got Rick. We got a bit of an audience tonight, so I'm pretty happy about that. Cam and you're on?
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's good. That's good stuff, man. Well, let me get us going here a little bit. I think, Rick, you said we got sound, so we should be in good shape, right?
Yep, we got it. Well, I'm doing 13 things over here at the same time.
Well, you're qualified to do that, Rick. I mean, we're going to get a camera on you at some point in time here as our producer.
Some behind the scenes.
Which will be pretty cool, yeah, one of these days. And these guys over here, man, I don't know what they're up to, but Mike's got his shoes off, so that's a good thing, right? That's good, man. Well, Brandon, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. We had the opportunity recently to meet one another, and you came out. I think we met at a coffee shop at Carmel.
Sure
Not Indie Coffee Roasters,
No.
but another Carmel coffee shop. I had to get a mouthful. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you are from northern Indiana, I think, right? The region you said?
Yeah, northwest Indiana, born and raised up there in Whiting, Indiana.
Where's Whiting?
It is basically...
Cam says, yeah, all
pretty
right.
much like...
You what? See, we need to set up way more cameras than this, man.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, you went to Whiting for a minute? Oh, remotely, okay. Stop interrupting us, man.
Yeah.
All right, so Whiting, Indiana.
Went to elementary school up there, born and raised up there, and then we picked up and moved to Valparaiso, so just a little bit farther out, and then, we were there until I graduated, and then went to Ball State University in Muncie.
Yep.
And then after I graduated from school,
then Cam likes that too. Are you a Cardinal, Cam? Are you guys both Cardinals?
Chirp, chirp,
chirp. Look at you guys, chirp, chirp.
Right?
Well, for all our Ball State fans out
Absolutely. Yeah, and then moved to Indianapolis and have been here ever since, and loving it. Love the community here.
So when were you in Ball State, Muncie area? What years?
2012 to 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And you, Mike's laughing. Mike was there like in 1989.
Yeah, I won't ask Mike when he was there.
You can address him as sir if you want to.
Okay.
So let me ask, I know we talked a little bit before about kind of how you got into AFSP and so on and so forth, and you mentioned that you had a family member or what have you that had taken their own life or what have you, and so that's kind of entered you into some of, like, I think, out of the darkness walks and so on.
Yeah. So, I got connected with AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, in about 2011, 2012, and I went to one of our walks in the community up in Chesterton. It was one of our the Out of the Darkness walks that we host. And I went there with some friends of mine who had lost a teammate to suicide. And I kind of just went as moral support. They were just looking for people to kind of join their team and walk together. And so I was like, this is a great cause. Like, why not? And then I get there, and I was just blown away by how many people from my community were actually in attendance. I was in my head really just thinking there's going to be like 20, 30 people there. It ended up being like probably 400 or 500 people. And
I know they're pretty well, like, I know at least from what I've seen, they're pretty well attended.
Yeah. And I mean, this was still even early on. I think this was one of the I think this might have even been its inaugural year up in Chesterton. And so it was just really eye-opening for me to sort of see how many people from the community came out to support this. And, like, in my head, I was like, wow, I didn't realize like how many people actually cared so deeply about mental health and suicide prevention, or maybe not even necessarily care about it, but just have been impacted by it. And, kind of little did I know I was going through my own mental health crisis at the time. It definitely did not have the words or like the knowledge to call it that. And so attending that and really just kind of getting my feet wet and just being exposed to AFSP, I think that was really like the first brick in the foundation to, like I said, kind of pull me out of where I was at in my life. And it wasn't immediately. I mean, this took like years.
So
but
you were volunteering for them
yeah,
at that
yeah.
point in
So
time.
I started. So I attended that walk as just a walker, and then immediately I was like, yeah, I want to get involved more, like whatever that looks like. And AFSP has a ton of ways to be involved as a volunteer, and so I started helping out with like the advocacy and public policy aspect of it.
Yep.
I chaired a walk on Ball State's campus 2 years in a row, so I was able to bring a walk to campus and get the students involved, but also the Muncie community, which was really great. Did that for a couple years. And then I joined as a board member when I moved to Indianapolis and was a board member for a few years. So overall, I was a volunteer for just about a decade. And then I got a job with AFSP.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
cool.
here I am.
We've had, I think, Kelsey, right?
Yeah.
So Kelsey's come out to a couple of our different meetings and so on and so forth. And she's got just a full story. That's probably the only thing. So Kelsey, if you're watching this, we love you and support you, appreciate you, man. I mean, she's got like a big story, and it's kind of, when I first met her, when you go through this, man, it's just wild. Like I tell people, I asked my wife not too long ago, I'm like, how do I explain to people that, I lost my brother in 2015, and then I lost my stepsister in 2022. Yeah. And I'm like, how do you explain to somebody or talk to somebody about losing two very close family members by suicide, and them not just have a jaw-dropping look on their face, right? Or feel like they're like, oh, wow, it's just, but more and more people that I talk to, let me back up. One of the things that I just now kind of address people with is like, when I talk to them, I'm like, look, our family has been impacted, twice, without having to jump right into it. But man, it's just it is an experience that unless you go through it and your friend, I'm sure you saw, the ripple effects, you saw the things that kind of went on around it, it drove you to where you're at today, right? And I'm super grateful for what you do, man. Especially this time of the month, right? I mean, May is National Mental Health Awareness Month, so, obviously that kind of surrounds, suicide prevention as well. That's great, Brandon. I mean, like I said, I appreciate folks like yourself that get the passion through what maybe you've seen through your own eyes to help, because I know if Kelsey was sitting here, or any of the other AFSP reps, there's probably a story there on why they want to, jump in and kind of help out. And your organization does great. So talk to us a little bit about what the organization does. I have up on the monitor anyways for those folks watching. A lot of the contact information, yours, Kelsey's. Yeah. But there's many chapters across the United States, right? Not just Indiana. Yeah.
So we're a national organization founded in the late 80s, but our mission as an organization is to save lives and bring hope to those that have been affected by suicide. So whether that is a loss or lived experience, we want to provide those resources and that support for you. We have chapters all across the United States, Washington, D.C., and most recently Puerto Rico. So that's really cool. I didn't get the opportunity to work for Puerto Rico, unfortunately.
Maybe Hawaii. Does Hawaii have a chapter?
They do, and I think they're hiring. I might need to go.
Right. No,
Kelsey wouldn't be happy if I did that. Chapters all across the United States, which is great. So, I mean, all the resources and programs and things we do are, kind of consistent, but we also know that all the chapters kind of operate a little bit differently because everyone's community looks a little bit differently too. So, and then we have things from prevention education programs. We're really involved in research and, like I mentioned before, advocacy, those fundraising walks. And then a really big part of what we do and really kind of our founding was supporting survivors of suicide loss. I think for a lot of people, and I'm sure you can attest to this, you feel like almost like a forgotten group of people sometimes. There's so much emphasis put on prevention, which is necessary.
Listen, it's a great point, and I don't mean to jump in and stop you, but I mean it is a great point, because I mean what happens is you just don't want to tell anybody. Yeah. Because it's just like, God, I'm going to tell somebody this, and they're just going to be like, oh, what a downer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or, like,
I'm about to make this really awkward.
Yes. Or, it's interesting, us even sitting in this coffee shop, one of the gentlemen that has helped me immensely with, setting all this stuff up and doing podcasting, LDR Studios, Clark Crosser, he came to our meeting. So I share this with the audience for a couple of reasons. I share it with you, too, because I might have shared it with you already, but I'll share it again. Cam, these guys all know it, but Clark came to us organically. Like, he came to us by what we're doing right here and kind of pushing the message out, like it's okay to talk about it, right? And he would tell me a lot of times he'd come into this coffee shop and he would, talk to somebody about it, and you could just see there on their face. And even he got to a point where like he was like, man, I don't know if I want to talk about it anymore. Yeah. But then we came together, and he started hanging out with the community that we have here. Some of the guys that are here tonight with us, Rick and Mike and Cam and the 500 others, but people can't see them now. But he started hanging out with us and gotten a lot more comfortable. Like he's even told me today, like he's a lot more comfortable now to talk to people. So again, back to what you all do at AFSP. It's more than just kind of the suicide prevention side of it. It's also for survivors.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's really just starting that conversation and normalizing it and talking about it. And it shouldn't. I mean, the same way if somebody, we have a family member, loved one, friend that, dies by suicide, we should be able to talk about them in the same way that we would talk about somebody who died from cancer or a heart attack or whatever other cause of death. Like we should just be able to talk about it and normalize it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably a good call out too. Some of the people that have watched our podcast, they know that it's a little bit clunky at times, and I get a little ahead of myself. But for our audience that are listening, anyways, we appreciate you listening to us first and foremost. But Building a Refuge is a men's mental health support organization, founded in 2018. We're a registered 501c3 nonprofit, so all of the money that we raise, 100% goes back to the community. Which we're very proud of and glad we can help. We've probably given out, I don't know, a better part of $10,000, I think, over the last few years to families. Guys, families, so on and so forth. We meet on a monthly basis, so we meet typically at Harley-Davidson of Indianapolis, and I'll talk a little bit about some things that are coming up there a little bit later. But we also do things like this, which are pretty cool. So we're hanging out at Indy Coffee Roasters in Carmel, Indiana. It's the one on Main Street. Diane and her staff are fantastic about letting us come in and do this and hang out, and they give it to us for free, so we don't have to get it, and that's a huge help.
Absolutely.
I think Diane believes in what we do, and I think coffee shops are really cool places to kind of come and do this.
Preach.
Listen, man, I love the fact, like, I was telling one of the gals that worked here a little bit ago before they took off, I'm glad that I don't have 50 people in here because, one, I respect Diane's business and just it itself, because I love more intimate settings. I love this. A lot of times when we do these podcasts, we have, maybe 5 or 10, maybe 10, most likely 5, right, Rick? Rick's my producer over there, so. You still got sound though, right? We're good?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's cool. As long as we got sound. But yeah, so I want to share that because the other part of this is that we are on all the streaming services as well. So we push this thing out on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music,
Sweet.
iHeartRadio. Yeah, so it's wild because we use a software called Podbean to push it out. And I was looking at some of the statistics recently, and there was somebody from New Zealand.
Oh, really?
That had downloaded one of our episodes, and I'm like, what the
That's
heck?
incredible.
I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, I'm grateful. Listen, man, I'm
Yeah.
blessed. So anyways, it's a good opportunity just to kind of call out, I think combining forces and combining what you all do.
Absolutely.
You guys have been great to help us out. Like we were at the Indy 11 game just recently and AFSP was there. We had a bunch of AFSP information on our table to give out. And I think it is a community effort, you know what I mean? To do what we do anyways. But, talk to me a little bit, if you do know some of this, because I know I've read, and I think I have a slide to share on here as well. Like statistically speaking, anyways, like men are a lot more likely to take their own life.
Yeah.
I think the statistics, anyways, will say that they're 80% more likely to take their own life than a female.
Yeah.
I know Cam that's hanging out with us tonight. I mean, he works in the first responders police side of life, and they see a lot of stuff, but I know even that community is hit hard with it, along as firefighters and so on. So talk to me a little bit about how much do you have background in that and things like that.
Yeah, and so,
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I'm so bad at like remembering statistics.
Yeah, well, that's why we
like
have
you
them
said.
up, yeah.
So we know that men are more likely to die by suicide than females. Females are more likely to attempt though.
Yeah.
But typically the means that men choose are more fatal, which is why that death occurs. But yeah, and then like you mentioned, there's just certain certain industries and certain occupational groups that have higher rates of suicide. So like our first responders, our construction industry, I think right now is one of our biggest ones, and that's a huge focus for AFSP right now. We're nationally working with Bechtel and putting together actually a program specific to construction workers. And so we know that that's obviously a very male dominated industry, and so just trying to truly break into that industry to get that message across that we can talk about this and it's okay, and that, you know, physical safety isn't the only thing that should be important on a job site. It should also be your mental safety, and we just know that there's a lot of things, a lot of factors that can play into why men who work in some of these certain industries that it could just be really heavy for them. So whether it's job security or it's the physical injuries or the just the physicalness of the job itself, or even, I mean, working as a first responder, there's that mental capacity too, where some of that work is heavy, and if you take that home with you. So just again, trying to normalize this and talk about it a little bit more, and everybody has mental health. Like, it's not,
and
you're
speaking, like, you speak my language, man, because I always tell people, like, everybody's got a mental health barometer.
Literally,
right? I mean, and some days the barometer's in the green, and some days it's in the yellow, and some days it's in the red, right? We all hope for all green days.
Of course,
I mean, who doesn't, right?
Just like our physical health. I mean, there's the days like we don't feel our best, but that's, you know, like
you probably feel a lot better than like all of us here, because we're a little. No, it's the truth. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, from that standpoint, we talk a lot about that even at our own, you know, meetings. And one of the things too, like at our meetings, I think probably one of the biggest things that, you know, we feel, and what we've seen in the last 6-7 years now, is we don't put any boundaries kind of around, you know, when we put a meeting together. It's not like we have like, okay, there's going to be a workshop now, and here's what we're going to do. Although I think that there's some meaning and value to it, right? Yeah. But I don't know if it's necessarily for what we do, because what we hope that we can do is if even somebody comes out to our meetings, we hope that they understand, like, maybe this isn't as intimidating as what I think it might be. Yeah. And if we can just get that out of it, I'm cool with it, because at least then we can point them to resources like yourself or, you know, some of the other resources that we work with here in town. I'll give you a really great example. Recently, we had a guy that I mentioned. He just kind of orbited around. I think I might have.
I think you did. Yeah, you told me the story.
So he kind of orbited for the audience, anyways. He just kind of hung out with us and so on and so forth. And I got a call one day that, you know, he was like, "Hey, man, I'm, you know, going through some struggles and with alcohol and blah blah blah, and, you know, can you help?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, we can help." You know, and so long story short, we pointed him to Allendale Treatment, great treatment for addiction and so on here in Carmel. They actually are based out of Fort Wayne, but within, you know, 5 minutes, the representative Emma called him back, and long story short, he got into an outpatient program, and that was. If we can do that, I'm good. Yeah. I'm good with what our kind of spot is in all this. Yeah. Because I don't think he would have been as comfortable to like even call me if he didn't, you know, we didn't earn some trust equity with one another, you know, at the meetings, where I wasn't like, "Hey, what's going on? Here's what I think." It's like, well, I don't give a shit what you think. You know what I mean? Because everybody's world is their own world. I mean, one of the, you know, our motto is write one story at a time to create hope. And that's what it is, right? I mean, you have a story in terms of, like, even how you're here today. Yeah. You know, you were impacted by it so much, by losing somebody. You're like, I need to do more with this. Yeah. You know, and I just think that, you know, I think that's what we do best. You know what I mean? So, that's pretty cool. Yeah. What type of stuff do you guys have, events and so on, coming up in the next few months?
Man, so we just wrapped up our campus walks just this month, and so we are kind of on a little bit of a break, which is nice. And then our community walks will take off in the fall. So starting first weekend of September, we'll have our Indianapolis walk here, downtown Military Park. Yep. One of the biggest walks actually in the country for AFSP, which is incredible. I think we're ranked like number 3 or 4 out of 400 community walks across the country. Yeah. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, that'll kick off our community walks, and then we have 11 walks throughout the state leading into
do you go to all those?
Not all of them. No. I think I go to maybe 3 or 4.
Do you go back home to any that go up?
Yeah,
like, take
yeah.
place up north?
I try to. Sometimes they get scheduled on like the same days as other ones or some other things, but for the most part, I try to get it back up there. And I think it's always nice to go back to, especially to the Chesterton one, like the first one that I ever went to. It's just cool to see because it's still at the same place. And just cool to see like how much it's grown since then. And the same person who plans it, Carly, she is still the organizer. Yeah. So she's done an incredible work with that. I mean, for over 10 years now, she's led that and has really just become like a pillar in the community. So it's really cool to see that.
No, it's fun, man. I mean, I think, giving back, and probably I'm sure people love to see you when you get back there and things like that. Yeah. I mean, well, we're grateful to have you guys come out and support us. We have an event coming up on June 7th, our 3rd year of doing this. And, I like riding motorcycles. Harley Davidson has been a big part of what we do. And, I'll throw it up for everybody to kind of see a layout of it anyways. But they've been a big part of supporting us. And I think the real reason is they, in the past, have experienced loss as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what struck home. So, gosh, I'm trying to think back. I think it was before COVID when they allowed us to kind of come in. And we did some more of a, I guess more, what's the best way, organized kind of meetings. And they were well attended, man. They just felt kind of weird, to be honest with you. And that's the thing that I think we were like, I don't know if we want this. I think we want to try to keep this thing loose and try to keep it, free to kind of,
I love that.
allow people to do what they do anyway. So anyways, the Rock and Ride for Hope is on June 7th. It's a one-day benefit. It's our fundraiser. So, if anybody's out there listening in that, would like to give us some dollars, we would appreciate it because as you know, right, it's the only way we can operate.
Exactly.
100% of our, like I mentioned, 100% of our money goes back to the community. So we're all volunteers anyways. But yeah, June 7th, we have a motorcycle ride that kicks off at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's got 4 stops in central Indiana anyways, and then we get everybody back to Harley by probably around 2:30 or so for a full day of music. So we even have music starting out in the morning, which is pretty cool.
I love that.
John Ryan and another band called Arkley Boge, and they're fun. It should be cool, man. Like, we just pray for good weather, right?
Right,
when you have a motorcycle ride, you always pray for good weather. But we'll have a ton of resources there. So you guys will be there. Thank you for coming out. Yeah. Appreciate that. Talk to me a little bit about, like, at events like that, what do y'all do? Like, I mean, for the audience that maybe not knows what it is.
No, truthfully, going to events like that, or what we call tabling events, our community events are honestly some of my favorite things to do because for me, it's one of those like cup filling moments. Like it doesn't seem like work to me. The conversations that you just get to have with people and the connections that you get to make are just some of the things that like you never forget. And it's like what kind of continues to fill that cup and fill that passion. And so, we'll have resources and things out, anything from, brochures, things about 988. We'll have like stickers, bracelets, buttons, like fun kind of stuff too.
You guys got fun stuff.
We do. I mean, hey, we got to have something that attracts people to the table. I mean, we get all the time. People are like, "Oh, you have a really like colorful table," and we're like, "Well, we got to have something to bring." I mean, if people see just suicide on the table, they're like, "We're gonna stay away from it." So, if there's some colorful stickers or whatever, they're gonna come over. So. We got to do something to bring people, but so lots of good stuff for people to take away. But honestly, it's just about connecting with people and just being like, we know, not to get all like into like research, but we know through research that like a majority of people have been impacted by suicide, and some people just have never had the space or like the environment to talk about it. And so it's just nice to kind of provide them that space or environment, wherever that may be, whether it's at a library or we're at a high school, like comeback night, or we're at a motorcycle ride. Like it's crazy places that we get to just have these connections, and that is truly my favorite. Because
have you ever had any? I mean, I'm sure you have. You probably know the question I'm getting ready to ask. Have you had anybody that's kind of come and said, "Hey, man, I need help now.
I'm not doing well." Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had people. maybe not necessarily like straight out say that to us, but I mean, they're given all the signs like that we know.
Because you also, AFSP also supports like kind of that training too, right?
Yeah. So we're not direct service. So like we're not the ones that like answer the call. I know I always have to put that up.
No, it's good for people to know it. I mean,
but
we're the same way. I mean, we're not like, if somebody calls me, I'll answer the phone for sure.
Absolutely.
But we're not that. Yeah. If you are struggling, 988's your resource for sure.
Yeah.
So,
But so we will absolutely provide, I wouldn't necessarily say crisis intervention, but we're going to chat with them. Like we're going to ask the same questions that I would ask a family member or a friend that I think is, that might be having a mental health crisis or might be suicidal. So we'll absolutely talk to them, but we're also going to send them home with, all of our resources there too. So they feel that they walked away with something like with some sort of support or resources.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's great. So thank you guys for coming out and supporting us. We have, I want to say like close to 10 resources coming.
All right. Yeah.
So we have you all, we have Allendale Treatment that'll be there. We also have St. Vincent Stress Center that'll be there. We have the VA. So St. Vincent's. Hey, how about that, Cam? We also have the VA that'll be there. So thank you to all of our veterans that are listening, and we appreciate everything that you do for us to keep us free. And kept us free, anyways. And so, but that's a really cool resource that we have as well, because not only is part of the hospital or the care team going to be there, we have a benefit side that are going to be there too. So if you listen to this and you get to this point, and you do have questions, you can reach out to me, reach out to us anyways, because we have a really strong, I would say, resource to help veterans in terms of kind of navigating that whole benefit side of things. As many conversations as I've had with veterans, that's the tip of the spear that is just like the most challenging that they can try to work through. So, fantastic way for us to help that way.
I mean, kudos to you guys too for like having that many, like a variety of resources too, because we know, there's not like a one, size fits all.
That's right. That's exactly
resources,
right.
And it's, there's going to be companies and organizations that have those gaps, and that's why it's just so nice that we're not working in silos. Like we can really kind of come together at this one event and just.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It's wild. I had a buddy of mine that invited me to a meeting yesterday morning, and it's called BNI, and it's Business Networking International. I think that's right. Yeah. Brent will probably correct me if it's wrong. Brent's not here, but hopefully, Anyways, but it's really cool. And it made me think, like when we were going through the meeting, they said, hey, can you present what building a refuge is and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, sure, of course. So got up, gave him the kind of, 2-minute speech on who we are and so on and so forth. Then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm like, it's a valuable organization for us to be a part of, because like I was telling everybody there, I said, I don't know, because I'm not a for-profit business here today, right? I'm a not-for-profit. But when you think about like what we're doing at Rock and Ride for Hope, we've been trying to build this out so it would be kind of a 1-day, maybe 2-day, 1 day, I don't know, but a 1-day anyways, opportunity for vendors to come out, resources to come out. It's more networking community than it is anything. Yeah. And so I was explaining to them the many different businesses that were at this. I said, y'all can come for free. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to charge you booth space. Yeah. Because everywhere you go, whether it's a farmer's market or it's a convention or it's some sort of thing like that, you're going to get charged booth space, right? Yep. And so we don't charge that. Mm-hmm. If you want to give a donation to us, fantastic. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care, right? But
we're not going to say no.
I started, and then I was like, man, we have a lot of people that come to us, because one of the guys had mentioned, and this is real life, that's what we talk about on here, is real life shit. So he was talking about how to help, you guys laughing at me over there? Zastro? Huh? Look, I used your last name. I'll bleep that out, okay? Right. But they were talking. He was like with a mortgage company, right? And so I think it was a mortgage company, anyways. But anyways, he was talking about like dealing with divorced families or a couple that are getting divorced, right? Yeah. And they're selling a house, buying a house, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, how many people that come to our meetings, dudes that have been through divorces, and that's a super struggle.
That's a life stressor.
I'm like, hey, would you want to come on and a podcast and talk to us about what that looks like? Yeah. Because maybe somebody's out there listening that's getting ready to go through one. Yeah. And they have no clue. Yeah. Even where to go. And at some point in time, I'm sure somebody at some places just said, F it, right? Yeah. I'm done with this. Yeah. And that's what we don't want. Yeah. So we can provide those resources. I'm like, man, why not? So I was just like, man, it just was so profound when it hit me. I'm like, this is pretty cool if we can do something like this. So I'm going to join it. It's just a great networking, opportunity. And so anyways, yeah, man, I think it's great. I think you guys are great being there, man. So, again, June 7th, if you're listening in June 7th, Harley Davidson of Indianapolis, we'll have a ton of resources there. Motorcycle ride. If you ride, you don't have to ride Harley Davidson. Cam rides a trike, so, it's all good.
I wish my dad lived closer. He would absolutely come to this.
Oh, yeah, you should. Well, tell him
right
to
up
come
his
down,
alley. Yeah.
Cam does ride a Harley. He just rides it a little different than everybody else. Rick, you got any questions, man? I've been leaving. Usually we bring you in on this a little bit.
Well, you've been sitting over there talking about, Rock and Ride for Hope and everything that we do. And you were talking about statistics earlier, and I'm going to pull back to that.
Okay. Great. My favorite topic.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this.
You hate them, Brandon?
No, I don't hate them.
I'm just keeping watch on my watch here so we don't run like 2 hours.
Well, we could very easily do that.
Yeah.
The question I have for you, Brandon, was statistic-wise. We talked about veterans. We talked about men.
Yeah.
What about seniors? Are there any statistics on seniors?
Yeah.
It's shocking, honestly.
Yeah, seniors.
I'm going to let you take it, but I've read some, but go ahead.
Yeah,
for sure.
Seniors, I think people would be shocked to know that seniors, our senior age group, 65 and older, are the age group that's at the highest risk of dying by suicide. For a lot of reasons. I mean, we know that, older age, they might have recently experienced like a loss of a life partner, just certain types of illnesses, that they've been diagnosed with, loss of a pet, maybe retirement. That's a big one for people when they retire. That's almost like especially when that position or the job that they had was a big part of who they were and their identity. So they're kind of giving that up. So that's, they're almost like losing a part of themselves. And so, yeah, our seniors are definitely the age group that's at highest risk of suicide, but people don't expect that. I think they hear a lot more, in the media about youth, which that age group is definitely on the rise when it comes to suicide. But yeah, by all means, it's our senior age group is the one that is up there.
I had a friend of mine commit suicide.
Yeah,
he was 95 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
tough.
it's just, look, I mean, I think when anybody takes their own life by suicide, the shock and awe is just, because you get the call and you're like, what the heck,
Yeah.
But I had read that recently, that statistic. It's a great point, Rick, and I appreciate you asking it. I was kind of taken back, too, when I read that. I think they just said 65 and older, right? But, I mean, I get it, man. I mean, it's tough. I know, like, my dad particularly, he's been through a lot in life with losing, my brother. And my stepmom passed away a couple years ago from a very, I'll just say, ugly way of cancer.
Yeah.
And, my dad struggles. He's alone now, and, I don't live close to him. And, I feel for him. My heart goes out for him. And I wish I could be there every day just to kind of hang out and, just be around him. And but I know for him, it's tough. But I call him a lot and just let him talk. It's the best thing to do. And I know at least, and you can comment on this, Brandon. I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people. I think a lot of information will tell you, man, if you can get to a point where somebody's talking to you, just listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, nobody really wants to hear what you think. You just listen to them.
No, I think that's such a great point. Like, one of the things that we, sort of teach or we want to sort of train people on within AFSP when we're talking about prevention education is like having an honest conversation with somebody. And like, we acknowledge that these conversations can be uncomfortable and they can be scary and awkward and whatever other words you want to use to describe it. Like, they're scary even to this day. Like, I still get nervous sometimes especially if it's somebody like I don't know, that I'm like, okay, like it could be a scary question to ask or to check in with somebody. And, but yeah, I think what people, when they go into those conversations or into those scenarios, they're like, I'm going to have to like fix it. Like, I have to provide, therapy in a sense.
Well, naturally, I think we want to, you know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
Especially closer to the, the center you get as a family,
of course,
right? I mean, you want to try to fix it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I mean, not to say that you can't fix it, but it's like, I don't know if there's a plug and play kind of key to fixing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's almost like it's what we always say is it's easier to make promises or to not make a promise, about fixing something. It could be really easy, if somebody's telling you, they're going through a divorce or, they just lost their job. Like, we're not going to promise, I can help you get your job back, or I'm going to get your spouse back or your partner back, whatever. We can't do those things like that. So there's no point. Like, what we just need to do is give them the space to just talk about what they're going through, the pain that they're experiencing, and let them talk about it. Ask those questions and kind of gauge where that level of distress is at. Like maybe they're not actually thinking about suicide. Maybe they're just like really struggling with their mental health, or they're going through something really fucking difficult. And then they just need that environment to just let it all out and talk about it. But then, if you're kind of getting those cues that maybe they are thinking about taking their life, then you ask them like, hey, are you thinking about suicide? Are you thinking about taking your life? Yeah. If they say no,
it's a big trust. Yeah, you
exactly.
You got to honor that and be like, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there definitely, I'm sure times, I don't know, through stats and data, I'm sure people have lied and said no, that they're not when they actually are. But you asking them if they are thinking about suicide, or, you just being that person, you're already setting the tone of like, I'm a trusted person that you can come to. Yeah. And so I think no matter what, like there's benefits to that, just asking that question, whether it's yes or no, whatever answer you get from that.
It's the biggest, I mean, obviously, right, with losing, Brent and Sophie, I mean, it's the biggest question, man. It's just like, because you know them. You get to know them personally. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like how, and somebody explained it, and we've probably all heard this, right? A rational brain can't understand an irrational decision. Yeah. Yeah. So we're never going to understand it, right? The only thing that we can do is, to your point, is just to listen and try to, do your best on picking up on, the flares. But look, the realism of it is we're not going to catch it all. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's what sometimes, even when we started building a refuge, people would ask me like, oh, you're going to save everybody? I'm like, no. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, but if I can save one person, I'm going to do it. Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's why we do it. I'm sure that's again why you do what you do. But I mean, if we can help one person, man, I'm willing to 100%. Step up and help out. But yeah, Rick, that's a great point, man. I mean, I don't know how many seniors. I mean, we typically some of the statistics that we get on YouTube and Google, Facebook, a lot of the social media sites. I think the average age or the kind of the on the bell curve, anyways, the top of it is somewhere between that 45 and 55-year-old range. But what's really interesting is like our viewership, it's about 50-50 male and female. Yeah, which I'm like,
that's awesome though.
Well, it is awesome because I mean we are a men's mental health organization, right? Or a support group. But I want to make sure people understand this too, like. We are brothers, right? Yeah. Maybe you got a sister. We are sons of a mom. We're fathers to daughters. We're, husbands to a wife. I've had a number of wives call us to say, hey, look, man, my husband's going through some stuff. Tell me a little bit more about your organization. Yeah. And it's them reaching out to me. Exactly. Right? Like, and I don't, I'm not like going, hey, give me his number. I'm going to call him immediately, right? Because I'm not going to do that.
You told me.
But, my best advice to somebody that, calls me on stuff like that, I'm like, look, just if you can somehow encourage him to come out to a meeting, we don't expect anything. Yeah. Like I can tell you, like the guys that are sitting in this room, Rick, you've been to all of our meetings at Harley. Hell, you've been to all of our meetings, since through the last few years, man. Cam and Mike are the same way. They're huge helps to what we do, but we don't expect anything out of anybody. And frankly, we're not just going to I might expect something out of these guys, but especially that dude. But but what we're not going to do is we're not going to be like, "Hey, Brandon, you're here today, so tell me a story."
Yeah, exactly.
No. The dudes are going to be like, "Fuck that. I'm never coming back to this thing ever again." You know what I mean? So, that's why we do the things the way we try to construct them, is that having it at a motorcycle shop probably isn't as intimidating as going to a church or a school, right? For a mental health meeting. Like, who's going to go to that? Why we do a lot of things around music. And we know that music brings people together, whether you're a country fan, a heavy metal fan, an indie fan, or whatever music you like, we know that those are groups of communities that we can touch. It's one of the reasons why, again, and Clark and I have kind of come up with this idea about the music festival, but, we know that having a wide variety of music, you can bring a wide variety of people together.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say, like, it's, you're not just targeting like one person.
No.
They could be like, oh, like I'm going to bring my whole family with me.
Yeah.
So like for them too, it makes them
point.
feel a little bit more comfortable and like secure. Like, oh, I've got my pact with me, and like we're going to this event. But then like from there, like they'll get more comfortable then.
Yeah,
and then,
and even at the event that we're hosting on the 7th, man, it's a family. Yeah. It's a family oriented event, right? It's you can bring a dog if you want to. I mean, bring the family. Come out, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if your kids have never seen motorcycles before, show them a motorcycle. I mean, maybe you don't want to, and that's fine too. I don't care. But, it's a family-oriented event. Even to talk a little bit more about some of the kind of the details around it, we had a meeting. It's been probably 6 months ago now. I was meeting actually with Stigma Free Fishers, one of the reps there. Jennifer, JJ, super lady. And she asked me, she goes, hey, do you guys have a non-alcoholic version to, because we're going to have Beer Brewery come out. And I was like, man, that's a great idea. I was like, I never thought about that. Because, I'm like, I was like, and so anyways, I was like, man, I got to figure this out. So thankfully, one of our friends from the community that we're a part of, their son is a bartender. He's going to come out and make mocktails.
That's awesome.
So so we'll have a nice little mocktail stand set up. And everything's free. Yeah. There's no charge or anything. I mentioned that earlier, but so that's just one of the parts that we do. I think from a standpoint of we're gonna have an ice cream Killwins. Is it Mike? What is it? Killwins?
Is it Killwins?
Killwins, right? Fishers, yeah.
Glad I'm coming.
So I'm freaking I'll think of his name in a second. Anyways, great guy. He's the owner of it. He was like, yeah, man, we'll come out and set up a place. And then even Harley Davidson and him got together, and so they're giving away buy a scoop, get a scoop kind of deal.
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah. So anyways, it's a family friendly environment, man. Yeah. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that people just understand that listen, man, just come out, hang out, meet some new people. Yeah. I just know that when that happens, you find out that somebody is going through something, and if they can just come to something like this that's a little bit less intimidating, man, it opens up a lot of options for folks. So,
well, and just like the amount of times that we host all these different kind of events in the community, whether it's a walk, whether we're tabling somewhere, holding a program, whatever, and someone just stumbles upon this event. I mean, especially a walk.
The fun part. That's the fun part.
We've literally had walks before where somebody was just similarly walking through that same park at the time that the event was going on. Yeah. Who they literally told us, he's like, I'm not even from here. I'm visiting. And he's like, we lost our son to suicide a year ago. And he was like, it felt like serendipitous to find this and be here. And so it's like, you just never know. Even in that sense, how we're just helping one person, that made that all worth it. Yeah. To have that one event for somebody who's not even in Indiana to get benefited and connected now to AFSP. It's just amazing.
It's the same thing happened to me 3 or 4 days ago. Anyways, one of the stops on our ride is the American Legion Post 391 in Fortville, and one of the guys that actually is playing in Bell Bottom Cowboys, the band, one of the bands that's playing, super great band. He's a member there. He's a veteran. So, anyways, Dakota was like, "Hey, man, can you come over to the post and talk to the guys?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, absolutely," and women too. There are men and women there. And so if you want to listen, I've presented in front of a lot of people in my life, and normally I don't get too nervous about stuff, but you put me in front of 40 veterans, and I just crumble. Yeah, yeah. It's the scariest thing.
That's me with high schoolers.
I have a ton of respect, man. I have a ton of respect for our veterans, and so I started to talk about what we are doing, right? Yeah. And I think based on, I had a talk with the commander. They get asked to give money to a lot of places, like VFWs, American Legion, so on and so forth. They get asked to give money, right? And so they were asking me some questions about and I'm going to make a big hurry. What are you doing? They don't sound like that. I'm just kidding. They were like, hey, how do you vet out how you give money away? How do you qualify somebody? And I'm like, okay, well, I walked through, and I said, typically, it's very personal, right? So we'll meet with them or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, and then there's some of the field part. We have a board of directors, actually a couple of guys here sit on our board. So if it's anything of sizable nature, then, I'd probably bring it to the board. But I said, yeah. I said, we have a pretty, I think a pretty tight vetting out process. And he's like, well, how do you vet out if you give money to veterans? And I'm like, okay. I said, well, we have, a resource like I mentioned earlier through the VA and the benefits side of things. And I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like, the benefits side of things are really the first point that you should go to as a veteran. And you're like, yeah, it is. But like, how do you vet it out after that? And I said, well, we'll usually go through the same type of process. And it kind of hit me. I'm like, I was like, can I ask a question? They're like, yeah. I was like, you guys know I'm not here asking you for money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, well, what are you doing here? And I was just like,
they're already prepared.
I'm like, shit, man. I was like, I'm just here to say thanks, like, for being the stop on our ride, man. Like, if the day is nice, we have 75 motorcycles converge on your post. I'm like, I just want to say thanks.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
And so then it, like, everything kind of loosened up, like, oh, okay,
less tension.
all right, yeah, all right. They're like, okay, this is okay guy.
That's
you know
incredible.
what I mean? Like, but it's just scary, man, because, I mean, and so I bring that up is in, maybe it's good for the audience to understand this, but I like every time we get asked to give money away, I'm like, I put myself through that filter of staring out to 40 veterans going, what are you going to do with this money?
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
no.
It better be a damn good reason.
Absolutely.
That we do something with it. But
yes. Got to be good steward of those
yeah,
funds.
I mean, you have to be, but I mean, it is important. I don't want people to think like we don't help. We've been blessed to be able to help a lot of people, man. We've been able to pay deductibles for folks that can't cover it, and that's been a challenge for them. We've paid for or just given money to families where they're a caretaker and they just need help.
Yeah, and
if they can get through, this happened around the holidays this past year, and if it helps somebody to get through the holiday season, like. It's crazy, dude. Like this week, it came from a friend again. Like, hey, man, I know this is what you guys do, but I got a friend of mine that's struggling right now and, lost his job and blah, 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 blah. And it's Christmas. And so I was like, yeah, man. I said, we'll give him, we'll support him, just let me know. And so we wrote him a check or whatever, and he ended up giving it to him. Well, he sends me this long text a couple of days later. And basically the premise of the text was like, look, man, this was the difference between us buying groceries this month or me being able to pay bills.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
But that's real.
Yeah.
Because if you can take that stress off of somebody, even if it's for 30 days, it's just
a world of difference.
It's a difference for somebody. You know what I mean? And I don't give a shit, man. I'm more than willing to knock on 50,000 doors to get the kind of money to help somebody do that. You know what I mean? So
no, I love that because there's so much. I mean, I think we just see it nowadays. There's just so much like red tape when it comes to organizations and like where they can give money to or what they can support. And so it's just really refreshing just, that you guys have created something here where you have that flexibility. So it could be paying for, like you said, just somebody needs those extra funds to like literally dig them out of the hole for, 30 days. Or, paying for someone's deductible. Just those things that seem like so like just enormous to them in that moment. And like, I mean, that truly is such a big factor for people's mental health. Like if that shit just keeps piling on, like
it'll stack up.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have anywhere to go with it, I mean, it's just,
it can feel hopeless and it leads to, And
if you don't have a group, man, like I would tell people if you're listening to this and you have, if you don't have a group, one of the big things that I would say it's been helpful is just find a group, man. Like just talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, trust it enough, because I mean, look, I got a lot of people that tell me like, whatever, Brandon, it's bullshit. This doesn't blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. Like, listen, I appreciate where you're at with it. Come to one of our meetings. Like, we're not going to make you do anything.
No.
Fuck, just come and eat some pizza or
Literally,
get some barbecue. I mean, we make some pretty good food, right, Rick?
Oh, absolutely.
Chili cook-offs and brisket and ribs. And, I mean, look at me. I'm a specimen of what we make,
Yep. I keep, in my mind, I keep going back and trying to picture you speechless.
Well, yeah, that's fair. It's fair. It's fair. I mean, I am in sales for a reason. You know what I mean? So, I have been speechless at times, though, man. Like, I've been like, oh, wow. But, yeah, man, I mean, I would encourage people just to come out and because it's the only way that you're going to get comfortable. And I know there's people out there that will hear this and understand. Eric always asked a really good question. I'll ask it of you, and you can, give me some insight on this. If you're that guy that's sitting in a basement tonight and you're somehow stumbling across this, what do you think is a way that'll pull somebody out of that place? I know it's not the easiest question in the world, but I love when Eric would ask it of people.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're in this, right? I mean, you're in this fight.
Yeah. I think it's the fact that what you guys are doing here is, and you mentioning, we have people here sitting in the room with us, and you have these meetings and these events where people come out. I think the number one thing is just that there's not one single person that is dealing with this, or that is struggling or has struggled, or whatever that looks like. Like, we truly are not alone. Like, this is something that people go through, and it looks different, obviously, for everybody, and there's kind of like a spectrum in that way, but that you're literally not alone in what you are feeling. And I think that should be comforting, but it's also like, you can look and see that somebody who was going through that is like on the other side of that now, or is far enough along in this journey where like you can, there's things that you have access to and you can get connected to, and you can get to that point too.
Yeah, and I think it's a great answer, man. And listen, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean, I think
it's
you're well, yeah, and I appreciate it, Brandon. I mean, look, man, I mean, folks don't always get the inside from a company, but an organization, a mission, like what AFSP is. Look, man, I didn't know anything about AFSP until I had to deal with this. And I think that is exactly what you're saying. There are people out there, and there are environments like what we try to do, to help, right? And we do them different. So. You're going to find also, too, maybe the church, the school, the hospital, whatever is the right environment. I just know this, man, like, when dudes are going through shit, man, they usually end up in one of three places if things don't go appropriately. And, Cam, again, probably can understand some of this, too, man. They either end up in handcuffs, they end up, in jail, or they end up dead. One of the three. And that's just the reality of what happens. And it's real as F. And it happens every day, it happens every night. All you gotta do is turn the news on and watch it. If there's a way that we can encourage people to come out and just hang out and find a community, man, we just hope that it might change the trajectory of something like that. But I always think it's an interesting question to ask, folks that come on, because we have a wide variety of topics that we talk about on this podcast, especially this mental health hour piece that we've added into it. About a month ago, we had a gentleman on that spoke to pornography addiction, and I had zero clue what that meant, and I was just like, holy shit, like just a completely different, dark, awful world, right? From that to first responders that we've had on, we've had veterans on, we've had, things like that. But I mean, it's cool because it is an environment where we don't really put a boundary around it. So, anything we can do to, kind of bring more awareness to what the real world kind of is. We had a guy come on, man. Look, we talked about my world. Like, I work in the, healthcare world and sales, and it can be stressful at times because, it's about performance.
Quota, exactly.
But, listen, I'm okay with it. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I love the company I work for. I'm not just saying that because I'm on live television or whatever or on the internet. But I'm grateful for the company that I work for. It's got a great culture. They're very, embracive of mental health awareness. They're very abrasive of a lot of different movements across the calendar year anyways. But it is reality, man. I'm in a sales role. You got to perform. And no matter what company that you're in, if you're in a sales environment, that's how you're it's how you're kind of gauged, you know? So, I mean, but it's real stress, you know what I mean? So, and I think the better maybe you are at it and the more money you make in it, the more stressful it gets, right?
I'm sure, Yeah,
so, but, I appreciate it. So, I know we're kind of coming up on the end of this, of here, but, what do you guys, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, what you got going on in the future?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say, our community walks that we have coming up in the fall, but I think two other things I want to mention and throw out there, because I think one of these will, could potentially reach of some of the people that you guys connect with. But we, like I mentioned before, construction industry is a huge occupational group that's at risk of suicide. So we're actually doing, for the first time here in Indiana, we're calling it a Hike for Hope, but it's for the construction industry. So it's actually taking place May 31st at Hub and Spoke up in Fishers. It's a free event to attend. So it's essentially like a walk, but more focused on the construction industry. And so we'll have obviously vendors out there as well and things like that. But this is more so focused on those in the construction industry.
Awesome.
So family, friends, all those of the members of the construction industry. So anybody involved, it's free to register, free to attend, family friendly, all the good things.
One of the sponsors, and I think I have this up here. I'll pull it up really quick. Yeah, I have them up here. So, for those of you that are actually watching on the internet or whatever, we have kind of 3 different levels of sponsors. I only bring this up because one of our refuge sponsors, which is our platinum sponsor, is Gaylord Electric.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of met them. It's Adam Calick. That's who it was. Kilwin guy, the ice cream dude. Adam, man, he's like, okay. It's funny. I jogged your memory. But he was one that introduced me to Gaylord, and man, what a great company, and they are passionate about this. So, one of the things that Building a Refuge is working on, and I am, we're just kind of trying to figure out schedules. But one of the company also that's supportive on here, Remedy Live, is based out of Fort Wayne. I don't know if you've heard of them before. Clinton Foppel and his organization was really instrumental in kind of helping us get this going way back in 2018 anyways. But they do a very cool interactive kind of program, if you will. And so they've asked me if I'd want to come up and do some of the training with them to start to bring that more out, like in this area what we do. And essentially what it looks like is it's about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but I always kind of look at it around like a luncheon or what have you, especially in organizations, businesses. And it's something that we're going to be able to offer anyways. But it's really cool. And one of the areas that I know they're focusing a lot on is construction. And essentially what it is, it's very private. It's essentially an environment like this. Like if you can imagine, 50 or more people in here, and you have questions that you ask. You talk some statistics and so on and so forth, but everything is anonymous. So you answer it on your phone, and then all of the data shows up. Essentially, if there's 50 people in here, and you ask the question like, how many of you have ever dealt with loss of suicide, right, or loss by suicide? And 40% of the people in there say yes, right? So then all of a sudden it starts to open up. And man, it's so powerful because one, it says you're not alone. 40% of the other people sitting in here have dealt with it. And then the questions kind of take off from there. Right. So really cool. We're gonna kind of develop that partnership on the back end of here in 25. Hopefully we'll get it done in 25 so we can start bringing it out in 26.
That's neat.
I'm really excited about it. But Remedy Live is a great company. Anyways, it's called the Wired Experience. That's what it is. So it's called Wired. Is what it'll be, but no, that's super, super awesome, to do that. What about, like, do you guys do anything? I know obviously September's a big month for National Suicide Awareness Day.
I mean, our main focus,
right?
During September and October are the community walks that we have taking place. We have, I think, 11 throughout the state. Indianapolis, being the first and the biggest one. And then leading that kind of into November, I would say is like kind of around the time that we're sort of closing out the year. Is we have our International Survivors of Suicide Loss Day. So I think this is
November
22nd. Saturday, right. November 22nd. So it's always the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And people are like, why would you do that right before the holidays? But that's the point. It's holidays are a difficult time for people, especially if they've dealt with that loss.
Do you guys do anything like around February? I mean, do you do a push around the like January, February timeframe? So
not necessarily like surrounding survivors of suicide loss or anything like that, but we do like so our advocacy action day is it takes place in February, usually January or February. So it's more so focused on like action, like taking action. We meet with legislators, like do all that sort of thing.
Well, I only bring it up because I know that time of the year is heavy for people because somebody brought it up. Matter of fact, I think it was our pastor at church one time brought this up. He's like, look, It's when the bill from Christmas comes in. It's gray.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Yeah,
It's like,
I don't think I have the statistic in front of me,
Yeah.
but like I'm pretty sure it's usually right around January 1st is that for a lot of people it's it's really a hard time for people.
It is. It's gray out. It's cold. It's like you know, and then you get like the shock and awe, like the buzz is off of the holidays, and you know,
right now people are thinking about resolutions and all these things, and that you're supposed to do in the new year. And I think for a lot of people, it just feels really overwhelming on top of all those other things, like family leaves or whatever. And you get that bill from Christmas. So,
it's just, man, that's kind of like, and you could talk about, like, I know we, at some point in time, I think we had a meeting where we talked about this. You got a question, Rick? I thought I saw you raising your hand there.
Colleen said we lost the audio.
Oh, we did? Huh.
I still got it.
Maybe she just lost it. I'm going to trust you,
can
Rick.
tell her that.
Because here's the deal. Colleen, we didn't really mean that. I still got good green bars on my dashboard here, so I think we're good, man. Everybody's giving me thumbs up, so we're going to rock with it anyways. I did want to take a minute. You good? Yeah, cool. I did want to say, just to call out a couple of our sponsors again for the Rock and Ride for Hope, because we're coming up on this, and so I don't know. We have to do one more podcast next week, but definitely want to call it Gaylord Electric. Thank you guys very much. Everyday GSD, Darren Bebo, great friend of mine. I really appreciate everything that you do. LDR Studios, I think I talked about those guys a little bit up on the front end. Legion Group, this is another construction. My son actually works for the Legion Group. They're a corporate construction company.
Yeah.
And then also we just had a couple more come on, Gimbal Financial, which is here in Carmel, Indiana. So we're really excited to have those guys on. And so those are right now our refuge sponsors, platinum sponsors. And we're just very grateful because we wouldn't be able to do this if we didn't have those. And so just some of the other folks that are really helping us out. Parks Place Pub and Fishers, we love you guys, man. They've always been Matt's been a big supporter of ours. Ginger's Cafe in Noblesville, our security company, because we do have security out at this too, keep people safe, right?
Absolutely.
Elite Protection Services, or EPS. Allendale, we appreciate those. They've been very kind to us and supporting us as well. So, and then some of the others, Beer Brewery, Kilwins, Pink's, Semperfly Studios. Gavin Good's a really good buddy of mine, man. He's an artist, international artist, and a veteran, so we appreciate him. But he's done some really cool pieces for us, like silent auction type stuff. So,
awesome.
So he's been a great supporter of ours. My marketing girls, Skylar at Citrus, so we appreciate her. But I like to call them out. I know it's kind of, maybe some people might think it's goofy, but man, these are the people that that really help us in what we do. We're not
making it run.
We're not a massive organization, right? But we're growing, and we're certainly very grateful for them. A little bit, like I said, some of the rundown of the day. I think I told everybody a little bit earlier. Motorcycle Ride will kick off at 10 a.m., so we're pretty excited about that. But and then we have music starting at 12:30, and then we have 6 bands, I think it is. Yeah, 6 bands that go all the way up to our headliner with Tommy Baldwin.
Nice.
If you haven't seen him play, dude, he's worth coming to see. The kid is, I say kid because he's like my son's age. I mean, amazing talent, like just unbelievable talent, man. So, yeah. So we appreciate all of the bands. A lot of the bands are, he plays behind his head. That's right. Rick Coda, he plays, man, kid plays like just lights out. But anyways, we're looking forward to having him come out. He's actually releasing a new album this month. So kind of this whole month, he's, kind of playing some different shows. He's playing the Vogue. I think it's Friday, May 30th coming up here. So that's a pretty big deal for him. He's got a special guest coming in from LA. And so that'll be pretty cool. But, yeah. And then next week, one of the stops that we have, we're going to do kind of a special mental health hour podcast from the Final Third Cigar and Whiskey Lounge, Cam. Close to you, right? Over in Ingalls, Indiana. So Rob and the group over there, they're going to have us come in. We're going to hang out and have some cigars.
That's
and
incredible.
Maybe some bourbon. But they're one of the stops on our ride. So another place that we'd like to say thanks because they're, we're going to infiltrate on those guys. Hopefully it's a sunny day and we have 100, 200 motorcycles.
For sure.
But but man, thanks a lot, Brandon, for coming on. I just appreciate you taking time out to drive out here, and appreciate everybody at AFSP. So Kelsey, thank you for everything you do. I wouldn't, like I said, know much about you all if it wasn't for her. And everybody, man. I mean, your organization is amazing. Thanks for you and what you do with it, and the passion that you have around it. So just appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
We also, so at the end of these, I usually will mention to everyone, if listen, man, if you're out there and you're struggling, these are a lot of the resources that we have. The Veterans Hotline's on here, National Suicide Hotline. You can text 494949. You can text the word refuge to that number. It's an anonymous line, pretty cool. It's actually sponsored or hosted by Remedy Live.
Okay.
So it's anonymous, and I've used it. It works.
Yeah.
If you text refuge 494949, you're going to get somebody that's going to be like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And super, super great service. I just think
Absolutely.
it's fantastic because, one, it's anonymous, and if you're struggling out there and you don't want to talk to anybody, it's a great way to do it in private.
Yeah.
So definitely check them out. You guys can always reach out to us via our website at buildingarefuge.org, or you can reach us on our email at buildingarefuge@gmail.com. Also, real quick, before we go, I just want to put this back up again. Best way to get in contact with you guys?
Yeah, I would say afsp.org/Indiana or indiana@afsp.org.
Cool.
Best
awesome.
way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you very much again. We're
Thank you.
take everything out here. Hopefully this all works. Rick is going to tell us. I can keep talking a little bit. Rick's going to tell us if he's going to get some music here on the back end. But this song that's playing is a really good friend of ours, and he
Lonely
is
night,
great musician.
spiraling, no one that I can call. Parents gone again.
Cool.
I'm so alone. My toes are on the lid.